Trước khi bắt đầu, nếu bạn đang tìm kiếm sách để học IELTS hiệu quả, thì đây là những cuốn sách chúng mình khuyên dùng. Nó có thể giúp bạn đạt điểm IELTS từ 7.0 tới 8.0. Bạn hãy xem ở phần giỏ hàng trong kênh nhé.
Part 1. You will hear someone booking a Compost delivery service for an allotment plot.
Greenfield Allotments office, this is Paula speaking. How can I help?
Hi, I'm calling to book a compost delivery to my allotment plot, please.
Certainly, we can arrange that. Before we go into the options, I'll take a few details. What's your surname?
It's Sawyer.
Sawyer, thank you. And do you know your plot number?
Yes, it's 47.
Plot 47, great. Can I also take a contact phone number in case the driver needs to call you on the day?
Sure. It's 07918 604 772.
Let me read that back. 07918 604 772, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Now, we offer two types. The first is our standard compost mix, which comes in bags. People usually choose between 4 and 6 bags for a small plot.
I don't want to overdo it. How many bags are in your standard option?
The standard delivery is normally 6 bags for most customers, but the standard mix package on our booking system is actually 5 bags.
Okay, 5 sounds right. What's the cost?
It comes to £23 if you add the optional lining sheets, but the compost delivery on its own is £21 in total.
Fine.
The second type is a soil improver. It's richer and heavier, so it's best for raised beds rather than general ground.
I've got raised beds, actually.
In that case, it's a good choice. Just so the driver can unload easily, we deliver soil improver through the side entrance. That's gate 2. Gate 3.
Gate 3, right.
Yes, gate 3. Now, about timing. We deliver on weekdays only. The next round of deliveries is on Wednesday, but that list is already full, so the next available day is Thursday. Would that suit you?
Yes, Thursday is fine.
Great. The driver works in time slots. Yours would be between 10 and noon.
10 to noon is okay.
I'll note the start of the window as 10. Finally, we take a small deposit when booking. It's usually £5 for small tool deliveries, but for compost it's £6.
No problem. I can pay that now.
Perfect. I'll just confirm everything and then take the payment details.
Part 2. You will hear a town councillor discussing local traffic problems and explaining plans for a heritage trail.
Right. Next on the agenda, we have the Riverside Access Plan and the Heritage Trail. Councillor Morgan.
Thank you. We now have the results of the survey carried out last month about local traffic and the footpaths near the river. Generally, people are satisfied with the condition of the roads, and there were only a few comments about potholes. However, a significant number of residents complained about the increasing number of heavy vehicles using our smaller roads as a shortcut. That seems to be the main concern at the moment. Moving on to the Riverside Path itself, it has become very popular with walkers and cyclists. The surface was improved last year, but overtaking is still difficult in places, so we are going to add space on the inside edge to make it wider. We did consider other changes, but widening is the priority for safety and comfort. Now, we also looked at the proposal for a pedestrian crossing near the river entrance. We had hoped to go ahead this financial year, but the highways team has advised that the original location is not suitable. There is a bend in the approach road, so it would be dangerous for drivers and pedestrians, so that will need reconsidering before we proceed. Finally, on Station Road, near the station entrance, drivers can face long waits when the barrier is down. We have now put up signs asking motorists not to leave their engines running while they wait. This should reduce fumes for pedestrians and cyclists on the pavement.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the heritage trail arrangements.
Yes, since we've agreed to promote the Heritage Trail, we need to organize a few practical features on the route shown on the map. Think of the lower half as the lower lawn, which is the open area around the main entrance, and the upper loop as the upper zone, which sits closer to the river and the statue. First, we will install a new notice board right at the main entrance on the south side, so it is the first thing visitors see as they step onto the lower lawn. We also need seating. The best place for picnic benches is in the park in the southwest corner, under the trees, away from the narrow riverside sections. For families, we are adding a small children's play area. This will be just north of the park on the short link path that connects the park to the main loop, so it is close enough for parents but not inside the main seating space. We have also had complaints about bikes being left against railings, so we are adding cycle parking on the southeast side of the lower lawn, on the stretch of path that leads towards the lower bridge. For views, we are creating a lookout point in the upper zone near the north side of the loop, where visitors can look across the river bend and see both bridges. Finally, we need a clear meeting point for guided groups. We will use the open space on the west side of the upper zone, northwest of the park, and just below the statue area, so groups can gather without blocking the steps.
Bạn đang nghe podcast miễn phí tại IELTS. Nếu bạn yêu quý kênh, hãy ủng hộ chúng mình ở phần mô tả nha.
Part 3. You will hear two students discussing how to improve the layout of a poster for a project.
Okay, Daniel, we need to tidy the poster section before we submit the project. The tutor's feedback was blunt. She said we had a lot of content, but not a clear message.
I get it. Posters are not like essays. People do not study them line by line. They glance, decide whether it matters, and move on.
Exactly. So, before we judge the 6 options, we should agree on what the poster is supposed to achieve.
For me, the first priority is speed. The viewer should understand what the event is within a few seconds. If they have to squint and decode it, they will ignore it.
Yes, quick understanding is essential. The second priority, I think, is credibility. If the layout looks messy, people assume the organisers are unreliable, even if the event is good.
Agreed. So the two key aims are it must be understood quickly and it must make the organisation look credible. We do not need it to be artistic or full of images.
Great. Now, what changes are actually necessary to get there?
I was thinking of adding a QR code so people can sign up.
That would be helpful, but it is not essential to fix the problem. The main issue is that the page is crowded. We need more white space, otherwise nothing stands out.
True. When everything is packed tight, the headline doesn't feel like a headline.
Also, we need a grid. Right now, the text boxes drift slightly, and the edges do not line up. It feels accidental.
Yes, alignment matters for credibility. So the two necessary changes are increasing white space and aligning everything to a grid.
Now, let's evaluate the 6 layout options and record a clear judgment for each one.
Text heavy first.
This is the version where we tried to include every detail on the front. There are long paragraphs, 2 logos, and a long list of speakers.
And the margins are tiny. It feels like a notice board, not a poster.
Yes, it is too cluttered. Next, the headline-led version. The title is large, then a short line explaining what it is, then the date and location.
I like that. My eye goes to the title first, then the key details.
So the hierarchy is clear.
Now the dark background one. It looked modern on the laptop.
But when I printed it, the grey text almost disappeared.
That's contrast. The contrast is poor, so the information is hard to read quickly.
Minimal blocks is the simplest layout, with just a title and the details, all in neat boxes.
It is very safe. It looks official.
It does, but it is also a bit lifeless.
So it's professional but dull.
Daniel, Icon Set uses those little icons for talk, workshop and drop-in.
Yes, and I'm worried they're not obvious. The workshop icon looks like a tool, so people might think it's a repair event.
Right, the icons may confuse people. Finally, bold shapes. This is the one with the angled shapes.
It definitely stands out, which we want.
But it is a little busy.
So it's eye-catching but needs simplifying.
Great, that gives us a consistent set of judgments.
And we can justify them using our 2 aims, quick understanding and credibility, plus the 2 fixes, white space and a grid.
Part 4. You will hear a lecturer explaining how seagrass meadows store carbon and how scientists measure carbon budgets.
Today, we are looking at seagrass carbon budgets. Seagrass meadows are often described as blue carbon, but the key point is where carbon is stored. Most long-term carbon is held in coastal sediments, not in the leaves you see waving in the water. As plants grow, shed material, and die back, organic matter becomes buried. If the seabed stays stable, that buried carbon can remain locked away for decades. A carbon budget is a balance sheet. We estimate carbon inputs, storage, and losses. A meadow can look healthy, yet still be losing carbon if the seabed is disturbed. That is why restoration projects should not claim success just because seagrass is present. Let us start with the main causes of carbon loss. The first is root damage. Seagrass roots and underground stems bind the seabed like stitching in fabric. When anchors drag, when boats repeatedly touch bottom, or when nearby works alter currents, those roots can be torn. Once the root mat is broken, the seabed loosens and erosion increases. Erosion matters because it resuspends fine particles and can release stored carbon that was previously buried. A second cause is poor light. Seagrass needs light to photosynthesize, so anything that clouds the water reduces carbon capture. One common driver is boat traffic in shallow channels. Propellers, wakes, and repeated movement stir up sediment and raise turbidity, meaning the water becomes less clear. With higher turbidity, less light reaches the leaves, growth slows, and the meadow may thin out, making it even easier for waves to disturb the seabed. A third cause is heat stress. Seagrass species have temperature limits. During marine heat waves, warm water persists long enough to disrupt normal metabolism. Respiration can rise while photosynthesis does not keep up, so overall productivity declines. Lower productivity means less new biomass and therefore less carbon entering the system, and recovery after damage becomes slower. How do scientists measure a carbon budget? Because storage is mostly below ground, teams often begin with sediment cores. A core is a vertical tube sample of the seabed. By analyzing layers, researchers can estimate historical accumulation and check whether the most recent layers show disturbance. Cores also help compare sites, because two meadows can have similar plant cover but very different stores below. Teams also measure plant growth directly. A common method is to attach small tags near the base of selected leaves. After a set period, the distance of new growth is measured. This provides a practical estimate of leaf production, one component of carbon input. It is not perfect, but it can be repeated across seasons and compared between meadows. Budgets also include carbon that leaves the meadow. Not all plant material stays where it grows. Leaves break off in storms, detach as they age, and drift. Researchers estimate export by collecting drifting fragments in nets or by surveying nearby shorelines and then scaling up those observations. Export can sometimes move carbon to deeper areas where it may be buried again, but it reduces the amount remaining within the meadow's local budget. What helps restoration projects succeed? First, reduce physical damage. Planting seagrass is not enough if anchors keep ripping up the seabed. Marked channels, no anchor zones, and suitable moorings can reduce damage and help stabilize sediments. Second, be honest about uncertainty. Carbon estimates involve assumptions about sampling, variability, and timing. Good reports present budget uncertainty, not a single number that looks exact. Finally, monitoring must be long-term. A calm year can make a project look successful, while a stormy year can hide progress. Without monitoring over multiple years, teams cannot learn, adjust methods, or respond after heat waves and storms. When you evaluate seagrass carbon claims, ask where the carbon is stored, what pressures remain, and whether there is long-term monitoring. One more point about interpretation. People often focus on the surface canopy because it is easy to photograph, but canopy alone is a weak success measure. A few shoots can return briefly, yet the sediment store may still be eroding. Better evaluation combines measures. For example, repeated core sampling can show whether sediment carbon is stable, and tag measurements can show whether productivity is recovering. Managers also watch for signs of stabilization, such as clearer water and reduced bare patches, because patchy beds are more vulnerable to wave action. If budgets are being used for policy, teams should document methods carefully so different projects can be compared on the same basis. Otherwise, funding may go to projects that look good temporarily.
Bạn đang nghe podcast miễn phí tại IELTS. Nếu bạn yêu quý kênh, hãy ủng hộ chúng mình ở phần mô tả nha.